Hey guys, Coach David here, coming to you today to talk about goals. What goals are, how we set them, the kind of advice of some of our coaches on what are the important things to look at when we're looking at goals, and then kind of a run through of what they consist of, how to manifest them, and some additional things to think about as well. So, let's get started. What we're going to look at today, as you said, we're going to be discussing goal setting strategy, finding out what your goals are and what motivates you, breaking down stages of successful manifestation of your goals, and we're going to look at completing a mock roadmap to success sheet. So what you want to do before you get started is I want you to get a piece of paper and I want you to write down what your goal is. Because obviously you're a current ProPrep client already, you're here for a reason. People don't sign up for nothing, so there's got to be a reason, either something you've gone through with myself, Andy, Steph, Natalie, or Rob already, or something that you have got in the back of your mind you want to achieve, but you maybe haven't said it out loud or written it down yet. I want you to write it down on a bit of paper, and that's kind of like your start point, okay? So, yeah, write it down, what those goals are, and how you are currently approaching and tackling them. Like, say, for example, I want to win a bodybuilding natural lightweight title, okay? That's the big goal. How am I approaching that? I'm being mindful with my diet. I'm ensuring my training is the correct consistency. Like, break it down backwards, because those are kind of midterm, and then it would be making sure I eat all the right foods, making sure I stay within my calorie limits. That's kind of like your day-to-day, making sure I get to the gym 5 times a week. Small things like that work really, really well. SMART. You can't see the T because of my floating head, but SMART goals. I'm sure all of you have heard about SMART goals before. Specific, measured, achievable, relevant/realistic, and timed. So when you're setting a goal, being smart is really important, and not just from the perspective of being smart in how you choose your goals, but actually being able to break it down into something that is actually usable when it comes time to quantify and specify things. So you need to know the who, what, where, why, and when. You need to have something that you can actually track and measure its success with. It needs to be challenging but not impossible. Me saying I want to be Prime Minister, pretty impossible unless it was like over the next 20 years. Relevant. Well, the goals need to be relevant to the objective. If you say I want to compete in a bodybuilding show, and then your short-term goals are, I want to make sure, let's say, for example, I get on a holiday this year. Great goal, but not linked. So everything needs to be kind of synced together. The short, the medium, and the long term all needs to be synced together, and every aspect of your goal needs to be kind of channeling in the same direction. And then timed. When are you going to complete it by? Now, sometimes putting a date on these things can be quite scary because that makes it more real, and it opens you up to the possibility of failure. However, you just got to approach the possibility of failure the right way. Trying and failing is a learning experience. Failing because you've not tried hard enough, or failing because you've given up, that's different. So work on that. So look at the goals on your sheet. You can pause the video after I've spoken in a minute and go, okay, does my goal that I've written down here and the way I'm tackling it, does it kind of abide by the SMART principle? Is it specific? Competing, am I getting on stage? It's quite vague. What are you getting on stage to do? What category is it? What time of year are you hoping to get there? How are you measuring your progress towards getting on stage? Is it kg loss? Is it measurements? Is it visual and photos? Is it achievable? Is it something you've agreed with coach, or have you decided this on your own? I know one person who, not with ProPrep, has never stepped on stage before, never done anything to do with bodybuilding, but her goal for this year is to win her pro card. Maybe not achievable, but maybe it is. Maybe I'm completely wrong. So you just got to make sure that your goal fits with these. So you can pause now, make sure it fits, and when you're sure that your goal kind of fits these criteria, unpause and press play again. This is the Roadmap to Success sheet that we use here at ProPrep. This is a slightly altered one because this is one I've used with one of my friends. I didn't want to share another client's information here, but he was happy enough to share it. And basically, he has long, medium, and short-term goals, and then there's obviously barriers to those goals as well. We're not going to dwell on this for too long, but the main thing that you need to take into account is that, as we said, everything here is linked. So your short-term goals, tracking his exercise and completing his health sheets. Basically, I do his sheets for him to help him. Aim to exercise every day, tracking his eating, completing health sheets on a weekly basis. And then the small little non-negotiables I gave him, which was drinking more water, eating fruit and vegetables, establishing new habits and move away from high sugar and processed carbohydrates, and kind of keep things going on a regular basis. And that will, in the medium term, reduce his body weight and his body fat total and kind of work from there. And then in the long term, maintaining a healthy body weight and a shape and a state that he is happy with. That long-term one could maybe use a bit more specificity, because what is the state that he's happy with? Does he have an example of that? How are we going to measure getting into that state? So you see, even a sheet that is complete, there's ways that we can change it. And then obviously the main drivers, his motivation to do it, are obviously health outcome and self-confidence, which is very, very important. Knowing what drives someone to complete it is part of the equation as well. We've got some barriers here too, and it's just making sure you're going into it with eyes wide open. This is what I want to do. This is my situation. These are my barriers. And this is how it works. So it requires quite a bit of organization to get things started. So I've got little videos here from Coach Andy and Coach Rob on how they approach goals. I basically just said to the guys in a call that we all had together, guys, just send me a little clip on goals. Your approach to it, your thoughts on it, your strategies, but keep it concise. And they sent me back these. We'll see if I can get these to work. Working better than it did last night on the live
Okay,
call.
so you've got the goal in the mind and you want to sort of now make that goal a reality. And what do you do about that? Well, I'm super process driven. I really am. So you've got to be able to take the goal. It might be quite a big goal and you've got to break it down into bite-sized chunks. Something you can manage. And the SMART objectives are the best way to come up with your goals. So they have to be, your goals got to be specific. You've got to know what it is you're trying to do. You've got to be able to measure your progress towards that goal. It's got to be achievable and realistic. So I want to be a world champion pro level bodybuilder. That's probably still within my remit as a bodybuilder right now to be able to achieve that. I don't think I'll ever be able to be a pro overall world champion, and that would be unrealistic. To have that goal, but maybe in my division, in my class. So it has to be realistic. Once I achieve a goal of being a pro world champion, then maybe I could be the winner in the overall. But I've got to get to that first goal first. So you got to be able to walk before you can run, and run before you can sprint and jump. So goals have to be achievable. They've also got to be realistic. So you've got to be able to think to yourself, right, I want to be a pro world champion, or I want to do this, but I've got a massive business. I've got to look after my son. I've got to travel quite a lot around the place. I can only manage to work at 3 nights a week. I've not got the funds or anything like that to contribute towards this sort of goal. Is it really realistic? Or does my lifestyle have to really change to be able to do that? And is it the right time to be able to do it? And then the final element is time. So you need deadlines, and you need to be able to achieve those deadlines, because you can't keep putting these things off. So you've got to hit certain targets along the way. So goals have got to be smart. They've got to be achievable. And I always make my goals smart based. I always make them short term, medium term, and long based as well. So I've got targets, milestones I want to hit along the way. And if I can achieve those things, then the bigger picture is going to come into focus. And I know if I can't achieve those things, then I can kiss my goal goodbye. I've got to make sure they come into focus. But I'm determined, because that goal matters to me more than other things, like having the glass of wine, or having that slice of pizza, for example. So goals, that's how I do them. Hopefully this is good for you, Dave.
That's really good. So you'll have heard some of the stuff we've spoken about already in there, and some new stuff too. How Andy doesn't reach too far ahead of himself. When he makes his SMART goals, he's not thinking about literally the very end goal of his bodybuilding career, which would be to be a pro world champion. He's thinking of, okay, this is the next step in the process, and once he's achieved that, he would then look up and go for the one above it. But anyway, we'll get back to these things in a minute. Let's have a look at what Coach Rob had to say.
Hey, Rob here. So when it comes to goal setting, I like to have a clear vision of what I want to achieve and how long I have to achieve it. So let's take a very perfect example of contest prep. If I know I've got a competition, my first thing I do is concentrate on that goal when I want to compete. Have that end point to your goal. If it's a holiday, you've got that holiday date. And then work out them stepping stones. So your goal's up here. Work out the stepping stones, how you're going to get that goal, so you can attack it in manageable chunks. So I think manageable chunks is the best way for me to achieve my goals. Another one that I would say is be realistic with your goals. Get them SMART goals in, but I think the realistic one is the best. And set yourself up for success. Don't set yourself up for failure. Get there in the best possible way and have a good team around you. And tell people your goals. I think it's good to put it out there into existence. As soon as you start telling people your goals, it might take a bit of pressure off you because you might have the support that you need, or it might be that drive to achieve that goal because you don't want to let people down or disappoint, which you shouldn't feel like that you want to disappoint, but telling people, putting it out there in the public and taking people along the journey, because people will be invested and help you along the way. So set goals, have a time frame, reach them in your stepping stones, and put it out there into the world for the world to enjoy your goals as well. Hope that helps, and thank you, Dave, for the presentation.
There you go. Thank you, Rob. So, yeah, manageable chunks, SMART principle. You can see there's a lot of similarities in what they're saying. It's about having an organized process. It's about knowing very clearly what you want to achieve before you start, and breaking down the steps in that process required to make it happen. Keeping it realistic, making it time-bound. I mean, you would almost think they both drink from the same Kool-Aid, you know, because it's a very similar mindset. And it's the right mindset you need to have when you're setting a goal. When you're organizing your journey, those are the kind of things you need to do. Now, based on what you've heard here, now would be a good opportunity. If you think there's anything you can add to your goal sheet based on what you've heard so far, pause, add it, and then press play. Okay, so summarizing what we've gone through so far, goals are process driven, and there are different stages that are all linked. Your short term has to support your medium term, has to support your long term. There are different ways of setting goals. I always tend to do it kind of backwards. I set the big goal. This is what I want to achieve, and then I go, okay, how do I need to break that down into, as Rob said, manageable chunks? And what are those chunks, and what will I need to do to achieve them? So the manageable chunks are kind of like your medium-term goals, and the day-to-day activities you need to do to achieve those manageable chunks are your short-term goals. And once you've got all that organized, that's you set. And that's you set up with your goal process to achieve your big goal. In doing this, you need to ensure all those goals are SMART, specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time-bound, and know that behavioral change, which is adopting new behaviors to help support your goals, for example, training 5 times a week, eating 5 portions of fruit and veg every day, drinking 3 liters plus of water every day, those are good behaviors. If you complete those good behaviors for a sustained period of time, they'll become good habits. They'll become part of your routine. Now, having lots of good habits is a great way to get goal success. So if you've got lots of good habits and good behaviors in your lifestyle, you will be right on the way to having good goal success. You can't get goal success if you're not doing all the little things the right way. And to do all of that, because that's a lot, you need to be pretty organized, both with yourself, with your time, and also with people around you as well, because a lot of times the upheaval of making a big transformation for a goal requires you to be slightly at odds with people around you, not in a argumentative way, but in a kind of a lifestyle and habitual way, and it's getting everybody on side. That's also very important too. Okay, is that all there is to it? Now obviously I don't have anyone to interact with like I did when I did this live last night, but I'm asking the question. Goals, is that all there is to goals, or are there other things needed to make them happen? Well, you won't be surprised to hear that there are other things needed to make them happen. And part of that is the process of manifesting your goal. Having everything written on paper is great, but having things written on paper and having a plan doesn't automatically make it happen. There's the actual doing of it. So when you're talking about goal manifestation, these are the 4 phases. Part 1 and 2 are what we've kind of just gone through. Figuring out what you really want. That's kind of doing that deep dive and going, okay, what is it I really want to achieve? What really matters to me that I'm willing to dig deep, put in the effort, and make it happen? And then it's get clear on your goals. Get clear on what it is you're going to achieve, when you're going to do it by. Get that thing smarted up. And with that, you've then got your template for success. However, the template is just a template unless you are able to complete stages 3 and 4. Stage 3 is believing in yourself. If, for example, Andy talks about being a world champion natural bodybuilder, obviously at this point, he's not 100% confident he can make that happen. However, winning his category at a pro world show, he believes he can do it. So you've got to be able to believe you can achieve the goal. And this is one of the reasons why you kind of maybe upscale your goals the better you get, because once he's achieved that pro category status, he'll then be thinking, I can get that overall because I've achieved this level, I've leveled myself up to that. This is the next step. And it's realistic as well because you're not jumping too far ahead of yourself. But believing you can do it is really important. If you don't actually think you can manage the goals you've set out in your template and in your SMART goals, you're setting yourself up for failure, as Rob said. You need to make sure that you set yourself up for something that you believe that you can make happen. And part of that's down to mindset, which we'll get onto in a minute, but believing is important. And then taking the action and putting in the hard work are the other stages. And the hard work is not something to be minimized. Because, I mean, we'll get onto it. And I've got some videos here from 3 people that really inspire me. But in my experience of seeing the difference between people who win in bodybuilding and people who don't win is how hard they work. Because with the internet being what it is now, and with there being lots of good coaches out there now, the main difference between the winners and the participants are how hard they're willing to work. Yes, genetics and things like that play a part, but I've seen people with poor genetics beat people with great genetics because they were willing to put in the hard yards to make it happen. And I think it's not to be discounted. So I've got videos here from Michael Jordan, who you should all know, Wayne Gretzky, who is the greatest ice hockey player of all time. He's a Canadian guy. And then Nimzai Persia, who you might not have heard of. In 2019, he climbed all 14 of the highest peaks in the world within a 7-month period, which is a record. And his mindset being a Gurkha and then a member of the British Special Forces and then becoming obviously a world level climber. That all comes down to his mindset and his work ethic to make it happen. So we'll watch these videos and then you can have a think about how that aligns with your mindset and how you feel about things.
Maybe it's my fault. Maybe I led you to believe it was easy when it wasn't. Maybe I made you think my highlights started at the free throw line and not in the gym. Maybe I made you think that every shot I took was a game winner. That my game was built on flash and not fire. Maybe it's my fault that you didn't see that failure gave me strength, that my pain was my motivation. Maybe I led you to believe that basketball was a God-given gift and not something I worked for every single day of my life. Maybe I destroyed the game. Or maybe you're just making excuses.
So inspiring, Michael Jordan. Right, Wayne Gretzky.
Well, I don't think there's any question, and it doesn't matter what you're trying to accomplish in life, whether you're just in school, whether you're in high school, college, whether you're a professional athlete or an athlete that's playing for fun, that repetition is everything. Practice is part of the makeup that makes great athletes. I don't think that there's any great athlete in the world that will sit here and tell you that they don't practice hard. And so for the success of any championship team, there has to be a commitment to, as a group, that you're going to be the hardest working group and the hardest working team to play against. Now, it sounds easy and it sounds simple, but as days go by and the year drags on, mentally becomes more and more tough. You have to have the right frame of mind. You have to be strong-willed, and you have to believe that the practice you're putting in and the time you're putting in is going to make you a better player and a better team the next day. Nobody thought of practice as, oh gosh, I got to practice today, I want to make the Hall of Fame. It was all about taking in the knowledge of what's going to make us more successful as a group, what's going to make our path to lifting the Stanley Cup the best path possible. And that was easy. That was through hard work and commitment. There's no shortcuts. There's no angles. You have to put in the time. Fortunately, we had good coaches, and luckily, we had a group of players that understood that us paying attention and us practicing was going to make us better each and every day.
There you go. Starting to see some parallels between what they're saying, huh? Now, the Nimzai Persia, finally.
I climbed Everest, Lhotse and Makalu, this time in just under 48 hours. I climbed all the mountains of Pakistan in just 23 days. Everything what I have done so far, there is a love for that job. When I was a kid, I just wanted to be a Gurkha. I really wanted to be part of that group. 2 o'clock, run like, depending upon the time, 25k or 30k. And I'll be just like around just before like 6 or 6:30, just pretending that I'm sleeping. And now going into special forces as well. During my time, 32,000 people applied for it, and only 230 make it. Hard work is required, Everything in life doesn't just happen. Success doesn't just come, You got to put, your time, effort, hard work, dedication, by not, enduring that pain, not taking that pain and just like reaching out, not knowing and having that, mindful that pain is temporary. You just have to supersede that. You got to know that it's not gonna last forever. But what will last forever is your failure. If you have a purpose in life, and if that's something that you love doing that as well, then you'll be successful. You need to have purpose in order to do bigger mission. You can't just do it for the sake of doing it.
There you go. Now, when I looked up these videos, I looked up Michael Jordan and Success on Success and Goals, Wayne Gretzky on Success and Goals. I just watched his masterclass, actually. That's what that video is from. And Nimzai Persia on Goals and Success. I didn't look up on hard work. Hard work is just a theme that is central to all three of their successes. For them, you can have the best coaches, you can have the best plan, you can have the best goals, but you won't actually manifest that unless you are willing to put in the hard yards. And as was very accurately pointed out last night by Alex, it's not always about just putting your head down and grinding. It's about being smart about how you work as well. Working smarter as well as harder. Working hard on the right things rather than just throwing yourself at the obstacle. So having the right plan is very, very important, but also being willing to make that the central pillar of your life. Shaping your life around your goals and making everything you do and everything you can control a reflection of what you want to achieve. Very, very important. And obviously these guys were incredibly successful in their field. And while they had great success, they also weren't afraid to try and weren't afraid to fail. They just didn't let the failures they had define them. They used them as learning experiences to go on and become even better. Now, just as a final piece here, I've got a little graph on what's called the sphere of control and the sphere of influence. You may have heard this before, and I speak about this with clients all the time, because there are things in your life that you can control, and there are things in your life that you can influence. And a lot of it comes down to stress and mental health, because don't stress about the things you can't change. Stress about the things you can change. That's probably something that people who know me will have heard me say before. Now, this is kind of a breakdown. There's a purpose for having this in. This is kind of a breakdown of things that are within your control, things that are within your influence, and things that are in your sphere of concern, but you have no influence or control over at all. Now, when you're looking to achieve a big goal, you've got the right plan. You've got everything laid out with your SMART goals. You believe that you can manage it. You've got your belief there. You're ready to work hard. Now, this can sometimes sabotage you, Because in here, you're all set up ready to go. You're thinking about the goal, you got it right. Your actions and behavior reflect what you want to do. You're getting the training and everything. You're reacting well to challenges and adversity. You're making the right decisions and choices. You have the right mindset for it. And you got a good work ethic. Now, these sphere of control areas can be influenced. Not just like you could influence other people can influence you. So if you see other people doing different types of training, that can change your training. If other people say, oh, you can't do that, that can affect your belief and your work ethic. You can see other people on social media and think, crap, I'm never going to look like that. Comparison being the thief of joy sometimes. I'm never going to be able to achieve that. Look at what they're doing. So it's about very importantly, again, we could do a whole video on not comparing yourself to others and the race is you against you, which is super important. But the central theme of why we've got it here is you've got to kind of stay in your inner bubble and let your plan and let your mindset and let your work ethic stay within this bubble, and don't let what's going on around you, don't let the outside influences change your track and change your path, because it can be very easy to let that happen. And once you start focusing on obstacles and barriers, you get drawn into them and it becomes really problematic. And that leads into this little video here on perception.
The human brain cannot comprehend the negative. It is incapable. Yes, it's true. I'll give you an example. You ready? Don't think of an elephant. You can't tell the human brain not to do something. Skiers know this. If you ever seen skiers go through trees, do you know how they do that? If you go through trees on skis and you go, don't hit a tree, don't hit a tree, don't hit a tree, guess what you're watching? You're only looking at trees. You don't understand how anyone can ski with all these trees, as opposed to follow the snow, follow the path, follow the path. The only thing you see is the path. It's the same thing for you. If you focus on the obstacles, all you will see is obstacles. If you focus on the path, all you will see is path through the trees. It's your choice how you choose to perceive your own career. It's literally perspective.
There you go. So, stay focused on the goal. Don't focus on barriers. Don't focus on problems. Because just like those trees, you'll end up skiing right into them. And you'll end up having big problems. People whose lives are surrounded in drama, it's normally because they worry about drama and they think about drama and they focus on the drama that occurs rather than focusing on the good things that have happened and the opportunities that have come up. And a lot of that comes from mindset. If you believe things are going to go wrong, they're probably going to go wrong. If you believe things are going to go well or that something good is going to happen, even if you have a challenging situation, you will find the positives from that situation and you will find the opportunities for growth and the way to move forwards from it. And that a lot comes down to mindset. Now this is another one, as we say, that you could do an entire video on, but this is just a little video just to finish on mindset that is, I found quite interesting.
There are two types of mindset we can cultivate. One that embraces problems as opportunities to learn, and one that avoids them, often out of fear to fail. People that avoid conflicts can be described as having a fixed mindset. Those who see problems as interesting challenges have a growth mindset. Sometimes we like to switch from one to the other. People have a fixed mindset because they believe that basic qualities like intelligence or talents are fixed traits and that these traits are responsible for success. They often like to document past achievements. With a growth mindset, people believe that new abilities can be developed through practice. This view creates the love for learning that most great leaders and artists have in common. For them, life becomes an exciting journey with endless opportunity to figure out new things and advance.
So there you go. All about mindset. If you think you're not going to be able to achieve something, or you think you're not going to be able to learn new things, surprise, surprise, you won't. And if you believe that challenges are opportunities, and that adversity is something to be conquered, to learn and grow from, you'll learn and you'll grow from it. It's quite straightforward, really. Now, the one final thing I want to show you is something I use to stay aligned, because I spoke about trying to stay within this bubble here and not let other people's actions and things and societal things affect you and put you off track. But sometimes you need something that can help keep you on track and help keep you focused. And what I used to do that, and I create one of these every year, is a vision board. Now this doesn't need to just relate to fitness. So I mean, this is my vision board here. I'll pop it in the photo. Good, you can see that. So you can see I've got a variety of different things on there. Holiday in 2021 was maybe a bit ambitious. That didn't happen. But finding time to get my training in. Being able to get back to playing football again. That handsome chap there is Stephen McDonald. BMBF lightweight world champion. So my goal is to get to kind of a level he's at, or at the very least, do well in the lightweight division. Finding balance between work and social life. And also continuing my studies. That's basically fruit inside test tubes, which signifies my dietetics masters. I have that up on the wall next to the computer, literally right there, just out of shot. So I see that every day. And by looking at it, it's a reminder of the things that I've chosen as being important to me and the things I've aligned myself with as far as long-term goals are concerned. And it helps keep me centered and focused on what I need to do. And as far as my tuppence worth, on top of obviously what we've gone through here on goals and goal manifestation is concerned, obviously you've heard from Rob, you've heard from Andy, you've heard from 3 of the most amazing, inspiring athletes in the world. Well, now you're going to hear from little old me. On top of what you've heard here, my kind of like top things would the 2 things you really need on top of all this to be successful are, first of all, you need to be consistent. You know, working hard is great. Having a great plan is great. But if you can't maintain that over a long period of time, you're not going to be successful. You need to be consistent and you need to kind of do it for a long period of time. And the other one is you just need to be patient, because big success doesn't happen overnight. I think patient and kind to yourself doesn't happen overnight. It takes time to build a championship winning body. It takes time to be a really fast 10K runner. It takes time to, you know, achieve anything that really matters. But if you work hard, as we said here, if you believe in yourself, if you're consistent for a long period of time and you're patient, it can happen. It can be you. There is no reason why it can't be you. And yeah, obviously you're all watching this because you've chosen to work with ProPrep. So you've got a coach as well who is on your side. They're backing you up 100%, and just, yeah, use us to help you, and we'll get you to your goals. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this. Drop me a message to let me know your feedback on it, and yeah, good luck achieving those goals.